I believe that podcasting is us laying our living record down right now, sharing our perspective, our experiences, our thoughts, our beliefs. And that is so necessary in a world of misinformation, misrepresentation, right? And this is a legacy effort, right?
What's up, everyone? My name is Walter Gaynor II. I'm here at Bookmark Live at Black Writers Weekend. We're here at the Riverside Epicenter for a weekend full of just a whole bunch of workshop sessions, there's a few parties as well. It's a whole literary festival. And I'm here sitting down with Talib Jasir, founder of Afros and Audio, a whole bunch of other things, but he's basically Mr. Podcast himself. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Man, it's exciting to be here. This is your second time being at Black Writers Weekend, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. How's it feel coming back?
It feels great, man. The first time I came here as a representative of a writer, I came here and did two different panels, and I think we did a panel together that first year, and I think it was the His Story one that we did. So that was really dope, and I moderated that. And this year, I reached out to Tamika and said, listen, I think that we should collaborate this year and let Afros and Audio bring the podcast segments to Black Writers Weekend. So that's what we did.
Did and doing.
Yes.
You've had the Afros and Audio team here doing the interviews. Shout out to Shamiko. Shout out to Minister Jazz. And you've also had a couple panels, workshops and panels. Can you tell us a little bit about the kind of information that you were bringing to the festival?
Yeah, man, absolutely. So wanted to bring this idea of expansion, right, for writers. There's so much opportunity to do more than the one things that we start to do. Traditionally, we kind of stay in the same space. We kind of think about the same spaces that we start out in. And there's expansiveness in podcasting. There's another way to reach an audience. It's another way to have a touch point for people. Right. Most times when creators are discovered or professionals are discovered, people want to binge you. They want to see what else you're doing, who you are. And so thinking about podcasting and its ability to have an intimacy much like writing, wanting to see how we can bring that to writers' attention to say, listen, podcasting is a space that you can also create and build a lane in. And so this year we brought audio dramas to the conversation because I really believe that audio drama. I started as an audio dramatist, and I really think that it's a genre for writers. It's the space where you can really go in, and again, the lower barrier than working to option your work directly to Hollywood or for television pilots. Create in the podcasting space and then allow them to discover you in that way. And then today we brought audio books and voice acting in because, again, these are writers. Audio book is another extension of the work. So we wanted to really have those conversations here. And the first workshop we did was Page the Podcast. Once again, listen, there's another opportunity for you as a writer, and it's in the audio space.
Man, you came with the gems.
Yeah.
Man, I really love the concept of expansion. Especially now where you meet someone, they're like, oh, what's your Instagram? Or you on TikTok? Or you on YouTube? All this stuff. And some people are, but not all of us are. And with podcasting, kind of gives someone something a little bit different outside of social media. We could follow somebody, you may never see their posts again. With the podcast, you're there just following them, however they put stuff out. But audio dramas are things that I hear more people kind of getting into or starting to want to learn more about. So can you explain what audio dramas are in your own words?
Yeah, audio dramas are basically an audio script, so people who are screenwriters or fiction writers can create an audio drama. It's much different because you have to consider the listener and the experience that they will have. So in books, it's show, don't tell. And in audio dramas, it's tell, don't show because nobody can see anything. So you have to adapt those scripts into something that's audio. And so it's really dialogue driven and sound design driven in order to make it really work. And so audio dramas are really dope. You know, when you think about YouTube and that webisode uh, era where everybody was creating TV shows on YouTube, uh, it was saturated. It was super saturated for a while. You can hardly discover these things now. Tubi is kind of another one where there's so much content getting there, it's harder and harder to discover new and independent artists. However, audio is an opportunity to be also in this lane, but again, it's that entry point before or the entry point alongside where people are discovering you. And people get to be entertained. It's just like the golden era radio. The difference is the golden era radio during the 20s and 30s, we weren't a part of that, right? There's an exhaustive library of audio dramas from back in the day, radio dramas, I should say. We were not a part of that. The only time that we were a part of it was when people were playing us as caricatures of ourselves, just like on television, Amos and Andy and all that sort of thing. So now this is an opportunity. We're in 2024. We get to really create a space where we can begin to create a library of audio dramas. And that to me is super important.
Yeah. I like that you say we, like you speak from a community mindset, and not only did you create an audio drama, but you also created an actual space people could go to learn more about podcasting and get really, really deeper into what this is, what podcasting is, and audio dramas is. And I believe the first independent festival for the Black podcaster.
Yeah, Black podcasters and audio professionals.
Audio professionals, nice. What inspired you to take that on? Because nowadays, we see festivals popping up all the time. It looks real easy, but it's not. So what really inspired you to do it, and what keeps you doing it year after year?
Yeah, well, those are two loaded questions. Well, the last one was, at least. The first was in 2017. I created my own audio drama, The Fussings Until One of Us Is Dead. Get It Till Death Do Us Part. And so it's a rom-com 4-part limited series that I created. And from that, I wanted to provide resources and support and also receive it from other audio drama creatives that look like me. This is 2017. So that time, really, the only thing that was out was Issa Rae's Fruit and Lorenz Tate's Bronzeville. And then there was tons of audio dramas that weren't written and created by us. So that was the initial goal, was to create an online resource of support for people that look like me that were doing audio dramas. And it went nowhere because it's not what it was today. Now we have Black Audio Dramas Exist, a full directory of Black audio dramas. You can find that at blackaudios.com. But then it didn't go anywhere, period. And so I reached out to a podcaster that I know, and he was like, bro, I think you might want to think about events. And I think he meant like a 2-hour meetup. And I left and I was like, okay, I'm going to do a 2-day conference. And the problem was I didn't know how to do a 2-hour meetup or a 2-day conference. But we made it work, and we're 6 years in now. And what makes me want to keep doing it is because recognizing that as creatives, a lot of times we isolate. We don't look to our left and our right for support. And one of the real big issues in podcasting is sustainability, right? We get started in it. We don't have the support. We think it's just about the microphone. It's like, oh, I got to edit this joint too? Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and chill, and I'm going to stop this, right? And so and that's why it's for audio professionals and podcast creatives. Because once we can get together and really begin to talk with one another, understand that we all we got. In a lot of ways, this world don't love us. In a lot of ways, I feel like for audio, Afros and audio, it was always the day after for me. How do we stay connected, collaborating, in community? We know how to get together and have a good time. That's easy for us. But how do we keep it going after the rest of 11 months? And Afros and audio, for me, has been fuel for people to continue to do the work, to be seen and supported and have the resources. And I don't want it to go away because I think it's very necessary. And that's why I keep at it year after year, despite the challenges. I think it's necessary.
Well, thank you for keeping it going, because I appreciate it. I went for the first time in person last year. Beautiful event. Met a lot of amazing people there. And so, yeah, I appreciate all the work you're doing. I'm curious, you said the challenges, when putting on that event, but also it's a lot of challenges that come in, like actually having a podcast and keep it going. We're here at Black Writers Week, and where a lot of people are starting to consider, like, okay, maybe I should kind of, pursue going to that, create the audio drama for my book, or maybe just start a podcast. What are some challenges that people should keep in mind so they know ahead of time before they hit it and like, yo, well, what's happening? I don't understand.
Yeah, well, I mean, in everything, due diligence, right? And knowing what you're getting yourself into. But also recognizing that, again, it is another way to put your work out there. I really want people to think of podcasting just like we think about writing and music and all that sort of thing. A lot of people will start a podcast, be done with the podcast, and leave the space. This is a creative space. This is a space for creatives. You can do another podcast. You don't have to go away because you're done with one. You can create different podcasts. Just like a person will write a fiction book, a nonfiction book. You can do that in the podcasting space. Like, we've got to consider it differently, but also because it is not a new, industry, but it is new enough. It's not television, not radio. It's not the publishing industry where the barriers are very high to get into. Podcasting allows space right now it allows space for creatives to do whatever they want on their own terms. And I think of Afros and Audio Podcast Festival as a guise for me. I believe that podcasting is us laying our living record down right now, sharing our perspective, our experiences, our thoughts, our beliefs. And that is so necessary in a world of misinformation, misrepresentation, right? And this is a legacy effort, right? In the fact that if we're telling our stories, no matter who they are, people talk about saturation, people talk about toxicity in the industry. I believe that every life that exists, there's representation for it. No matter how ugly it is, no matter how pretty it is, someone needs to hear that there's someone that relates to them, someone that understands their journey. And podcasting allows for that. It creates space for storytelling. And that, for me, is above and beyond anything. We want to increase the voices, black voices and black creatives in the podcasting space. It's necessary.
It is necessary. I like you mentioned, it's funny if you ask someone or tell someone you're doing podcasting or have a podcast that they don't really know much about it, but they have seen the podcasters on Instagram and TikTok get their stuff. And it's like, oh, man, it seems messy and everything. But what it is kind of cool is like now that at least they know what podcasting is. So once again, that barrier to entry, it's like, you could save a podcast and at least people understand kind of what they're getting into or what kind of style it is.
Yeah.
Do you see, so people are talking about it saturated now. Do you see the trends continuing to place, like the type of shows that are getting all the noise, like being more prominent, or do you see any changes coming? Like, what do you think about like the future of podcasts?
I think it's a space for independent folks, right? I think just like when self-publishing began and you were like, oh, I can publish a book on my own. I don't have to wait for a publishing company or an agent to discover me. I think that's what podcasting is, and that's why we really focus on the independent creative. I'm not mad at celebrity podcasts or anything like that because, like you said, it allowed for people to no longer say, what's a podcast, right? Now you know what a podcast is. Now it's about encouraging people to get into podcasting. So I think that it is, as much as it's been around, there's still so much room to grow inside of it. And part of the reason for Afros and Audio is that for us to understand that there is innovation here. If we are trying to do it the same way it's been done, this industry, if you ain't growing, you're dying, right? And so we have to recognize that there is space to do so much in podcasting that we haven't even discovered yet or attempted yet. And that's why we have to have these conversations. For me, the podcast industry doesn't exist without podcasts. So that makes us the most powerful people in the room. But if we don't know that, right, if we never consider that, then it will become like any other industry. So we've got to have those conversations.
Okay. How can people start having those conversations or be a part of those conversations?
One, come to Afros and Audio, mm-hmm. October 18th through the 20th in Baltimore. And two, just begin to talk with one another, right? That's why we're here. Like again, to expand the mind and expand the opportunity. I'm a life coach too, so I'm all about consciousness expansion. Right? You have to begin to understand that it's up to us. Right? We teach people how to treat us. It's up to us to make this industry what we want it to be. Can one industry benefit content creators? Why not be the podcasting industry?
I love that. All right, so you shout out Afros and Audio a couple times, but also where can people follow you?
Talib Jasir on Instagram. I'm working. That's why I'm sitting here right now. You know, I'm working to. For me, it's always been about community. I grew up in community. You know, I grew up on a farm on the eastern shore of Maryland. So I'm a rural boy, and I know what community looks like when it's real and it's reliable, and it's meaningful, and so I have been working to push others out for a long time and to really build community with one another. But it's intentional, and that intention is coming from me, really. I want this community to be meaningful. And so I'm here to say, let's go.
Let's go.
We have enough inside of us. We don't have to continue to look outside of ourselves for opportunities. And every opportunity is not an opportunity, right? And so where can we really begin to look inside of ourselves across the diaspora, because it's all there. We have a lot of brilliance and genius and innovation and talent in our community. So how can we begin to look inside and work together to amplify that?
Yeah. You know, I think a lot of people could relate to that. You know, it's it looks easy, and for some people it is easier to get on camera to talk about everything you're doing. But for a lot of people, myself included, it's not. It's like, camera's on, what do I say? Did I even say everything I want to say? Did I say, does any of it make sense? But I think a lot of people can relate to like having to kind of come out and kind of promote it. And I think it's important because it's easy to forget.
Yeah, it's our work, and it's valuable. And that's part of the reason why I promised that small group that came together in 2019 in Brooklyn, New York, for the first conference, that we were always going to have a progressive conversation each year, a progressive community, because, and you all know, it's inclusive. You know, we don't exclude people unless you're bigoted, right? I don't want you here. You know, we are here for everyone who is committed to this community and collaboration, because that's how we're going to move this forward, period. And so it took me a while to work through my own self-image and saying, you know, I too have value in this space. And so now understanding after 5 years that it's going to take me coming from behind the curtain and saying the things that need to be said, you know, to push this forward, I'm committed to that.
Nice. Yeah. I love that. Well, thank you very much for your time, and also thank you to your sponsors. One of them, Afros and Audio. We also got Ike Ocean, Amazon KDP, All Americans Vote, Delphine Legacy Media, and Riverside Epicenter. Your support makes this event possible. Thank you for supporting Black Writers Weekend, and thank you all for listening, tuning in. Make sure you follow Black Writers Weekend on all the social platforms. That is username Black Writers Weekend, and check out the hashtag to see what everyone is sharing while they're here. We'll get in the second. It's Talib from Afros and Audio, and we will see you next time.
All right, peace.
All right, cool.
Thank you.